Hi everyone and welcome. In this recording I'm going to be speaking to you about the present moment Mercury retrograde season. Mercury retrograde season which started on the 10th of May and is going to end on the 3rd of June. The 2nd or the 3rd of June depending on which side of the planet you're on. And also Mercury is going to re-enter the sign of Gemini on the 14th of June. So basically that is the moment when it will re-enter the sign where it started its retrograde from. Now this Mercury retrograde season is a little bit different. You know, the opinions out there, even the astrological opinions, are rather mixed, because there are astrologers who do believe that this is going to be the finest of the finest Mercury retrograde. You know, the most vengeful type. And they might be right if we take into consideration that Mercury starts its retrograde from its home sign of Gemini. And it is Mercury Gemini's daytime expression. So basically, when one has to be an actor on the world stage, or you know, when life is a stage, you like it or not, have talent or not, you're still an actor and you have to perform the role. And if you think about it a little bit more deeply, at your job, you do perform a certain role. Even people who have jobs or livelihoods, careers, where they can be very much themselves, yet still, it is still a role, if you know what I mean. In your bedroom, you're different. Maybe that is your most wildest and freest self, yet is that also not just a role? So, you know, and this is so very philosophical, this is so very dichotomous, and this is exactly the cherry on top that Gemini represents and likes. So this Mercury retrograde is going to dig into the most existential part of our beings, because Gemini can be interpreted, you know, at its most deepest expression as basically the totality of our mindset, the learned self. You know, the monkey mind, but that learns, that inherits, that basically, even Mercury steals information from others and it integrates it in the self. That is very much how the mind learns. And that is why Gemini is the ruler of the 3rd house. Our mindsets are also, or other people would say mostly, learned. Education, school, that which we observed, that which we even desire to inherit, masteries, etc. That is so very much also Gemini. Yes, it's Virgo, then Capricorn, but it all begins with the mind. And what mind, even argue, it begins actually in Taurus, the value. There might have to be a spark of love for, you know, a mastery to complete itself. Maybe it starts with a love story. Love for a profession, admiration for a master, for a grandfather, for a neighbor, for whoever, for what any reason. We start to admire that person because of a skill that they have. That can start a beautiful love story between us and a hobby, profession, etc. And yes, that starts in Taurus, but it is Gemini who realizes it, because Gemini is when you have to say to yourself, you're a twin. All of us have Gemini in one part of our souls, one part in our charts. So you're your own twin always. Even signs, sorry, and people who have like highly concentrated energy and fixed signs, or not dual signs, not so mutable signs, even they are dual, at least in one area, one thing. You know, so everyone has a certain kind of duality. Everyone is their own twin. So this Mercury retrograde season will highlight where it is we're our own twin, if you know what I mean. In some things, it is just us. And basically, the other has also have to be, like it or not, us in one way or another. and the vengeful part. So that is where I'm getting to. It does square Saturn. After it leaves Gemini, it retrogrades back into Taurus, it will square Saturn. And you know, Saturn and Mercury also being in the sign of Taurus, decisions will have to be made, reality checks, and certain choices, options, preferences, based on what we love, based on our ideals, absolutely. Because at the same time, Mercury will have a sextile from Neptune, very much our ideals. And while, even before that, while still being in the sign of Gemini, where it starts its retrograde, so right now when I'm recording this video, it still has a sextile from Jupiter being in the sign of Aries, so that fresh, that new, that impulse, that desire in our instincts to begin anew or do something new, be new, wherever that Aries is in your life. Well, this is where this Mercury receives that inspiration, the faith, the hope, the promise to oneself. Because Mercury is in Gemini, you're your own twin, remember? You make, maybe right now when you're even listening to this recording, you are already starting to make promises to yourself. I'm gonna do this, I'm very sure about this, that. You kind of know your preferences, you feel like your values are and ideals, so any kind of value, especially in the values, are highly crystallized within you. So you're readying yourself for something. So then comes this Mercury retrograde season. So it starts off in Gemini, where you're already double checking yourself. Am I sure that I want this? Am I sure that I like this? This can be object, person, hobby, activity, anything really, anything. And your mind is already maybe doubting itself, but this is the healthy doubt. It's all good. And then later on, it will go back to Taurus. It will go back to the love dimension. But this is where love has to be physical and material, because this is also our material lives. And basically everything that has to do with our value systems, even the rather physical one, the real one, that which is the more telluric one. So the best way to understand this Mercury retrograde season, also the not so vengeful sides, because I would like to rather, you know, share the opinion that it's not going to be as vengeful as we might think. Of course, there are the generalities, and since this is Gemini, yes, it is the typical. The electronics break, the internet doesn't work. Sometimes electronic equipment truly doesn't work for not a rational explanation whatsoever. The energy, the feng shui is just broken. Travel plans will never work out the way you expect. If you have like dealings with authorities, let's say, you need papers, you need, for example, I need ID. I need to renew my ID under Mercury retrograde season, and I'm a Gemini as well. This is gonna be interesting. So if you have anything like this, well, you can expect a lot of delays, you can expect the unexpected, you can expect Mercury behaving a little bit like its higher octave Uranus, the spontaneous, the unexpected, surprise, surprise, this is the situation, you have to adapt, like it or not. It is not very recommended to book any holidays or make like set in stone plans from the 10th of May until the 3rd of June. Other astrologers would say in a more extended period, considering Mercury's shadow path. I think that a shadow path can be easily navigated through wisdom and intelligence, so no need. And yes, so from this perspective, it is a vengeful one, because Gemini, misunderstanding, miscommunication, also the more psychological side of Mercury, what we speak, what we share, how we dress up our words, what have we write, the formalities, thank you, goodbye, etc. Well, those will cause a lot of chaos, those will cause a lot of conflict. They will cause people to show who it is that they truly are, their true colors, so to speak. But this is where we're also, regardless of who it is that we are, if we're not a monk, zen out somewhere, if we have lives, then chances are we are also that someone. We're also in all of that. We'll also be promoters. We'll also be, you know, like the fire setters. Verbally, we may not control our tongue. Our Jupiter is in Aries. There's no control here. And this is very self-centered. Even introverts, even people who are not really, you know, very outgoing, very sharing of themselves, they will find themselves to be much, much more, you know, adventurous and actually outgoing, brave than at any other moment. So this Mercury retrograde season will be like a barrage of words. Sextile with Neptune, a sextile is a harmonious celestial conversation. Yes, that is absolutely true, but with Neptune, the illusion, that sextile can also turn into, but what did he truly mean? But why did she, hair splitting, something which might just be like a figment of our imagination. There's that side of Mercury retrograde season as well, and there's the humor with yourself. This is where you're either going to be very angry at yourself, clumsiness. Mercury rules the hands and travels as well. So, you know, either when you're walking, when you're traveling, when you're physically relocating your body to somewhere else, or you're doing something with your hands, especially when typing. This is the kind of Mercury retrograde where be careful when you type. When you're the kind of mercurial person whose body types automatically, and because you have this skill, be careful at this time, because sometimes it's like a Freudian projection. You type what you think and the filter is gone. And so be careful what you write in emails and instant chats and stuff like that, because the truth can come out in many ways. And you know, when you share pictures and anything on social media, be careful, your fingers might slip and you might send it to a person who you did really not intend to. So this is the situation where things like this will happen. So this will be a very, very fun, humorous, adventurous, very tricky start to the summer. And before I get into the dates and facts, another element to it. Well, when Mercury retrogrades back into Taurus, Taurus is the host to Algol and Sedna. Now, Sedna is a dwarf planet, but she is extremely powerful because she is very slow, 10,000 years to make an orbit, and very, very distant, outside your cloud even. And Algol is a very renowned demonic fixed star, so that means trouble. Mercury retrograde is also when it takes on the persona, so to speak, personification of Loki, god of thieves. And also, when Mercury retrogrades back into Taurus, Pluto will trine it. Pluto retrograde from Capricorn, that's money. And the verse expression, it can bless thieves, money laundering, fishing. So during this date, and not just, naturally not just, 10th of May, 3rd of June, make that 14th of June to be extra sure. Be very careful. Double check out any communication, emails, protect your personal data, because this is where thieves are going to be inventive, revolutionary. Thieves are going to be blessed. And be very careful if you have business, public, or are a public person, because this is where Mercury gets a more demonic expression of itself, the doppelganger, impersonating another public person, if you know what I mean, on the internet, the fraud. This is where it's gonna get heavy. And right now, I do have a star chart in front of me, so let me just quickly check something. So Ixion, the dwarf planet which governs basically the lowest of the low criminals, criminality itself, is going to be at 2 degrees and 47 minutes of the sign of Capricorn. So this also adds to the Capricornian element. Yes, on the collective stage, world stage, this will play out as corruption, political dealings and thievery at the highest level, revealing itself and all of that, okay. But in our individual lives, it can play out as being victims of fraud or someone stealing from us or any other kind of crime where we lose something. So we have to be careful. Saturn square Mercury, this is actually quite positive. That Saturn is the reality check, asking us to truly use our rational, awakened, diligent minds to judge, corroborated with our instincts, with our just Mother Nature given, gifted common sense. When your intuition, when your instinct, your gut, butterflies in the stomach, whatever you developed individually, specifically even to you, to smell out danger, when your spider senses are tingling, this time listen, and doubt, make 10,000 extra phone calls if you have to, but don't sign anything, don't sell out, don't. Just be rational, and also don't make choices which are final, which cannot be undone. If it can be undone, no problem. You know, just like arguments between friends, of course, apology will take place and all of that. But when you know it cannot be undone, be very careful right now, because this is life-changing. And also, we will have an eclipse, a lunar eclipse in Scorpio under this Mercury retrograde. So that's very heavy. So, you know, if you become a victim due to sheer stupidity, this can cost you a lot. So let's, how should I say, invite the energy, protective, diligent, very, very smart, aware energies of that Saturn in Aquarius, almost the scientific mind, the analytical mind, not the scorpionic one which just digs because it likes digging, for equilibrium, to make sure that we have okay lives, that we protect ourselves. In the name of that, we need to be our most intelligent selves in the beginning of this summer. So now let's get to the dates. One of the first things that this Mercury is going to do after it retrogrades, as I said, it will hold a sextile with Jupiter. And, you know, this can be like that, as I said, burst of adrenaline when all of a sudden you feel it deep in your bones that you're ready for the new. And this Mercury, the mind, will naturally start making plans, analyzing, and getting you there. So this is how the adventure can begin. And also, Mercury retrograde will meet the Sun in the sky in a conjunction. A conjunction will perfect itself at 0 degrees of Gemini. The Sun, well, the Sun represents the light of our consciousness, all about us, our ego, our identity, our persona. Gemini very much publicly, also in documents. Everything basically that, is attached to your name in a real sense. Who you are as an earthly being in society, in all of your roles in one, who you are here down on earth. This is where who you are in spirit does really not matter as much. This is where all of us have to play the role. We are here, we are part of society. Our destinies put us here, so let's give respect even to that part of ourselves. Even if it's not as much spiritual, even if it's just social, even if some people only have the more superficial aspects of this Gemini energy in their lives, or, you know, just social, just the others. There's me, My life, my story, and the others. Sometimes the others also matter. And if not, if you think not, then this is how Mercury retrograde is already teaching you the lesson right now by listening to this video. So that will be a moment of truth, that will be a moment of clarity, that will be a moment of combustion, that will be a moment of action. So if, for example, just an example, 0 degree, a critical degree after all, as 29 is that very, very strong ending, then 0 is a very strong beginning. The angry word hits the heart, someone's heart, and a greater truth, the story of Mercury retrograde season in your life this year will unfold. Or for other people, that compliment, you're beautiful, a word, the communications you see here, dream even, why not, something. It starts a journey and it gets you there. And then the journey goes actually backwards, back to what you love, back to who you are, Taurus, back to nature, back to the basics. This Mercury retrograde season is vengeful in the sense that it will break down everything to its elements. So mentally, of course, this is Mercury, the mind energy. And in Taurus, well, it will also reflect materially, because for a lot of people it will be this Mercury retrograde season. Remember last Mercury retrograde season with the Aquarius and Capricorn energy? This repeats in a different way. If you made certain big philosophical, let's say, judgments inside of you at that time, because we also had the Venus retrograde then, at the beginning of the year, end of last year, beginning of this year, well, right now, you're actually gonna do something with that. What you judge there, you're gonna execute now, and this Mercury retrograde is where you refine it. You have the plan ready. From A to Z, this is where your plan is put together. And also then on the this 22nd of May, Mercury goes back into Taurus, and almost immediately it conjuncts Sedna and it is trined by Pluto. And of course, naturally, Algol is also there, but in earlier degrees. So this is when you dive in deeply. Is it a job that you're rethinking, reanalyzing? Because a job is also value, because it adds your finances, your income. Is it an income? Is it a project? Is it something psychological? Is it about physical body? Is it your house? Is it your money management? Anything. You're really going back to the basics, redoing something from the very, very core of it. And this Pluto trine gives you power. It gives you determination. It gives you resilience. It gives you that fortitude which you truly need. For some people, yes, it will be like slave driving themselves, but the big cause is so very worth it. Then, at the very end of May, Mercury is gonna start holding the square with Saturn, reality check. Making choices very carefully, documenting ourselves. Saturn might require work for us to read, for us to study in a real sense, for us to put in time, effort, whatever that effort is, regardless of which house. For example, like the 12th house, you might ask, well, what effort is there? The time that you dedicate to go to church. That is already Saturn fulfillment. You do something for your faith. That is already something to work with. So you do something, you take action, diligently, carefully, slowly, because you know it's serious. If it's your business, even if you're under a Mercury retrograde, let's say you're designing your business. Well, if you're not launching it only after this ends, you can imagine that what you put down as basis for your business under a Mercury retrograde, that's pure. That's like meant to last. That's like the good old-fashioned values. It will last you for the rest of your life. And this is especially mental, the mindset. If your mindset is healthy, everything in your life is healthy. You know, just like when you physically clean something, everything feels different. It changes the mood. Sometimes when we have to change in the physical, and that will reflect in the spiritual. Sometimes it's like this. Everything's a mirror, so it's like a ping pong. It's not just, sometimes it's literally a ping pong. You ping pong it up, it is refined, it is altered, it comes down, you observe it, you accept it, you take it, you observe it, you modify it, and then ping pong it back up. This is where, sometimes someone's journey, someone's story, especially if you're like a creative person, or a scientist, or a teacher, or something, it is like where you're literally playing a game with the universe, and your life can be so beautiful as long as you don't take things personally. And then also on the 30th of May we have a new moon in Gemini, and this is very important because Gemini is the ruler of the new moon and it is retrograde. So this is one of the new moons which is built on something on the past. It is a new beginning, it is a new chapter, it is a new frequency, a new expression, new identity, new way, new brand, rebranding, renaming. All of this is so favored. Reinventing yourself. When you have to change your name, when you have to change your brand, your color, your logo, your visage, everything. This is a very blessed period for it. Maybe you're not launching. Even if you're launching, this is from the past. You needed this. This rebranding or whatever is built on something that ended. This is one of those kind of new moons. Or this is one of the new moons, the past. Let's say the past. There is a big obstacle, problem, something that bothers you for years in your life, right? Pluto is also in this picture. And then you begin anew, find a way or make a way, invent a way, do something different to solve that problem. So your solution, your modus operandi, Gemini, is the new beginning, and it solves the problem, terminates it. You are relieved, you change your life. So that's why, even if it's vengeful, if it will cause conflict, terminate relationships, terminate friendships, terminate jobs, terminate businesses, bankrupt, because of also emotional factors, like there's a big fight and they quit. When there is it's one thing when someone quits because of money, this and that, but when it's just emotion, that's a different kind of expression of energy. Because one might ask, was it truly necessary out of emotion? Well, fate and the universe sometimes works through emotion. Fated endings. The moon, eclipse, lunar eclipse in Scorpio, fated endings. For some reason, for some people, this will be the rage quit moment. When you'd say that, I can't believe that old colleague of mine rage quit. After saying it for so long, no one ever thought they would do it, and they rage quit. It happened. It was there. The prophecy fulfilled itself. In one way or another, around the time of the eclipse, this will happen in all of our lives. Something which is already there for a long time gets to a culmination. An ending or whatever it is. It will be a transformation. And under Mercury retrograde, we'll have a lot to think about, to process. And if we didn't have enough problems without it, whatever will shock us will just add another dimension to a problem to already take into consideration. So that's why this new moon phenomenon is going to be quite important. Mercury being its ruler, the mind. New beginning but mind. Or new beginning but a solution where it's our intelligence. Or Gemini, the other, finding who we need. And, Mercury retrograde, this can be infidelity, finding who we need. This might cause complications. truth will come out. Hard to speak truth. Like those things which partners couldn't say to each other for 10 years. Very hard to speak truth. Even if both of them knew it, it was never said, pronounced. When it is pronounced, for example, you never made me happy, I never really loved you. When that is pronounced, said, there's no going back. That's an eclipse. So it is these very, very heavy things that will be said around that time. But let's get onto the more positive side, because there is an evolutionary intent in this, and I'm so sorry, I'm not being rude, I'm just looking at my notes. So in my notes I wrote to mention the Sabian degree of where Mercury will start stationing, so 26 degrees of the sign of Taurus. So when Mercury will be there, the square to Saturn will be quite strong, a strong, powerful reality check. And, you know, at this time, asteroid Pallas Athena tactics will conjunct Uranus. Revolutionary tactics. Revolutionary wisdom. We will shock ourselves of how wise and intelligent we are. Sometimes we do need that moment to be proud of ourselves. And the Sabian degrees of the 26 degrees of Taurus is the Indian woman selling artifacts of her tribe. And this is such a beautiful symbol because it represents the simplicity, the blessing of wisdom. What is the blessing of wisdom? Eternal peace, calm. One might look at a woman selling artifacts, sacred beads of her tribe on the street as poverty. You know, she has to do this to make a living. The woman herself or others who are more aware might see it as a very beautiful sacred ritual, a journey, a sacrifice that she is doing. She is doing that not necessarily out of poverty, but she is that energetic gateway when she gives the sacred bead or whatever to the passerby, to the total stranger. She says a blessing. She is the seller, the merchant. She is the eye of God. Her role is, well, phenomenal. Perhaps in the destinies of so many people, millions even. Whoever buy from her will be touched by the divine. She is just a gateway, and it is always a choice. You buy from her or not, no one forces you. So how beautiful is this? Because this